You know how that famous saying goes? Karma's like a boomerang. Well, in this movie, karma's like a boomerang that becomes a ballistic missile. Welcome back, guys. It's Motion Recaps again. And today we're covering the 2016 horror thriller, Don't Hang Up. Spoilers coming in. Here we go. Teenage pranksters Sam, Brady, Mosley, and Roy successfully convince a scared woman that an intruder is in her house and her daughter is in danger. The video of the prank phone call goes viral and the boys become well known on the internet. With Sam alone at home for the weekend, Brady comes over and the two of them make a lot of prank calls. However, their pranks are really messed up. After some time of messing with people, the two friends get a call from a mysterious man who identifies himself as Mr. Lee. He reveals that he knows everything about them, and they get shocked when they find out that he's holding Brady's parents hostage. However, things get even worse. Now, before I tell you how worse things get, take a moment right now and subscribe to this channel if you've not yet already done so. Like this video if you're enjoying this recap thus far, and hit that bell icon to be notified of when we drop another movie recap on you. Now, without any further delay, here's Don't Hang Up. A woman is sleeping tightly when a phone call wakes her up. She's shocked when she finds out the police are on the line. A police officer tells her to stay where she is because there are two intruders in her house and the police are surrounding the place. The woman panics because she has a daughter who's alone in her room, but the police officer assures her that she'll be okay. The police officer instructs the woman to secure the door of her room, and she puts a cabinet against it. However, she hears gunshots and the police yelling. She puts the phone on the cabinet, which she pushes down. The phone falls under her bed. The police officer tries to speak to the woman, but the phone is under the bed and she can't reach it. He informs her she got pranked. Then we meet the group of pranksters who were behind the call: Roy, Mosley, Brady, and Sam. They post their prank videos online, and they're getting tons of views. Months pass and we see Sam in his house, listening to some sad song and going through the pictures of him and his ex-girlfriend Peyton. He gets so close to messaging her, but he gives up. He sees a friend request from some little girl, and he declines it. Suddenly, someone sneaks into his house, and that person is slowly moving towards Sam. To his luck, it's just his friend Brady. The two friends talk, and Brady advises Sam to throw a party at his place because his parents are away from the house. Sam tells him that he can't because he needs to work on his school assignment. Brady then gets an idea, and he tells Sam that they can get drunk and make some prank calls. Sam grabs the camera while Brady calls the pizza restaurant. Sam is shocked when his ex-girlfriend picks up and Brady orders a pizza to the address of Sam's neighbor. The two of them then make tons of prank calls, and they're not scared at all about the consequences because Sam has an ID blocker. Their pranks are not some light jokes. They are informing people that family members have died in a car crash or that they're gravely ill. It's all fun and games for the two of them until they get a Ghostface type of call. A guy with a raspy voice asks them if they're having fun pranking people, and Brady just insults him before hanging up. Brady then calls Sam's neighbor, and he informs him that some burglars are dressing up as pizza delivery guys and that he needs to stay cautious. At that moment, a pizza delivery guy arrives, and it's their friend Mosley. Sam's neighbor attacks him, and Mosley quickly gets to Sam's house. He figured out that he and Brady pranked him, and as a sign of an apology, Sam buys a pizza from him. The two friends then eat, but then they get a phone call from the mysterious caller once again. He threatens Brady, who immediately hangs up. Sam and Brady watch a movie while the phone is constantly ringing. After an hour, they decide to finally pick it up. However, the caller shocks them when he reveals that he knows their names and their address. He announces that they will have a very interesting night and that they will call him Mr. Lee. A doorbell rings. Sam and Brady go to see who it is, and they're relieved when they see Peyton carrying a pizza. However, they didn't order any. Peyton gets in, and she goes upstairs with Sam. They talk about their relationship and that things are really complicated. Brady is outside the room and he's filming them. Soon Peyton leaves, and the two friends get another call from Mr. Lee. He notifies them that he knows that Peyton was there. Sam tells him that he's going to hang up, and Mr. Lee informs him that there was going to be a lot of consequences if he does that. Brady hangs up immediately. Then he gets a message on his phone. He's terrified when he sees that Mr. Lee sent it. He wrote that it would be better for them if they pick up the phone when he calls. The two friends then think that Mosley is messing with them, and they debate that possibility. But then they get a message from Mr. Lee that he's not Mosley. The duo was petrified because he can hear them. Brady then gets a picture of his tied and bound parents, and Mr. Lee calls again. He tells Brady that his parents will die if he hangs up again, and Sam hangs up. Genius. Anyway, he tells Brady that he'll call 911 because he figured out that Brady's parents are in their own bedroom. Sam calls 911, and an operator can't understand him because Brady is screaming like a lunatic in the background. The operator then begins to laugh, revealing that he is Mr. Lee. He controls their calls now. Soon, the duo notices that the laptop camera is on, and they figure out that Mr. Lee is watching them the whole time. A TV turns on, and they witness the murder of a prankster friend, Roy. Mr. Lee tells him that he recorded that yesterday, and this is just a warm-up for today. Then Mr. Lee shows Brady's parents. All the lights turn off, and the two friends get a video of Mosley. Lights turn on upstairs and in the hallway near the back door. Sam thinks that Mosley is upstairs, and he goes to find him while Brady stays in front of the TV. Mr. Lee is still on the call, and he tells Brady that he can kill Sam to save himself and his parents. Brady just stands there, petrified, looking at his helpless parents. Sam finds out that Mosley is not upstairs, and he rushes to the back door. He opens it, and he finds Mosley with a bag over his head. He's suffocating, and Sam removes the bag and lockstrip, only to find out that Mosley's neck has been sliced. Sam calls Brady to help him, and he does his best to stop the bleeding. However, it's too late for Mosley. Brady shows up, and Sam just tells him to close the door. Sam, clearly affected by this incident, gets up and leaves while Brady covers their dead friend. The TV turns on in the living room, and the two friends witness Peyton being abducted by Mr. Lee. Sam peeks out, and he sees her car in the streets. Brady tells Sam that they need to leave and save themselves, but Sam doesn't want to leave Peyton in Mr. Lee's hands. Sam tries to stop Brady, and both of them fall down. Brady gets up and heads to the door, but Sam pulls his leg and Brady falls down, losing consciousness. Sam then sees on the TV that Mr. Lee is holding Peyton hostage, and he tells Sam that he will let her go, only if Sam kills Brady. Sam then gets a knife to defend himself, and then he ties Brady down. Brady wakes up, and the lights turn off. We can see that Mr. Lee is in the house, but Sam doesn't know that. A creepy montage of Roy, Peyton, and Brady's parents play on the TV, and then the girl who sent a friend request to Sam shows up. Sam goes to check her profile, but only finds a picture of him and his friends there, and some of those pictures are a few months old. For things to be worse, Mr. Lee then plays a sex tape of Brady and Peyton. Sam finds out that his girlfriend cheated on him. He then takes out his rage on Brady, but he quickly figures out that Mr. Lee wants them to turn against each other. Then the video gets back to Brady's parents, and Sam notices a clock behind them. He quickly goes to the kitchen to check the time, and he figures out that the video is not live because there's a 2-hour delay. Sam takes the knife and he frees Brady. Then he tells Mr. Lee that he had enough of his games. He wants to see Peyton and Brady's parents in real time. Mr. Lee then tells them that they've been pranked. He shows them a video of him calling them for the first time, and when he moves from the camera, the two friends see that Brady's parents are dead. Then, as the old conversation with Mr. Lee continues in the background, the two friends see poor Mosley in the van. It was just a few minutes before he killed him. Mr. Lee then shuts down the power in the house. Sam takes a bat, and Brady takes a knife. Sam is carefully walking towards the back door, ready to swing the bat at anything that moves. Then Brady shows up behind. He tells Sam to go and find help while he stays to cover his back. He wants to repent for his foul deeds. Sam tells him that he forgives him and that he wants Brady to come with him. Brady's touched by that, but as soon as Sam walks out, he shuts and locks the door behind. Sam is looking around, and he sees Peyton's car parked outside and the van that belongs to Mr. Lee. Sam goes inside, and the first thing he finds is a computer monitoring his entire house, and then he finds Peyton, all tied up. At that time, Brady's in the house, and he's searching for Mr. Lee, but the house is empty. Brady passes by Mosley's dead body, and he heads out to the backyard. There, he sees someone sitting on a swing, half naked. Brady carefully approaches, and he's stunned when he sees Mosley. Then, Mr. Lee slowly rises from under the bloody sheet. Brady's confused, and then we can see Mr. Lee's figure behind him. Sam gets Peyton out of the van. Sam is at last relieved because he saved Peyton. However, they hear Brady screaming. Sam tells Peyton to call the police and hide until they come. He takes the bat and goes to see what happened to his friend. Sam gets to the backyard. He sees that Mosley's body's on the swing, and he enters the house. He's slowly investigating, but there's no sign of Brady. He finds Peyton in the backyard for some reason. He told her to call the police and wait, but she just didn't do it. Idiotic reason if you ask me. Peyton turns around and screams at Sam that someone is behind him. Mr. Lee attacks Sam with a knife, but Sam defends himself very well. Mr. Lee moves really clumsily overall, and his hands are in one position for the whole time. Sam tackles him down, and he overpowers him easily. The knife goes right into Mr. Lee's chest. Sam then removes Mr. Lee's mask. If you thought that Mr. Lee put the mask on Brady, and then tied his hands with a knife between them, good job, you earned a smart cookie reward. Sam is devastated because he killed his best friend. Brady reminds him that they're bros forever before he dies. The real Mr. Lee shows up, ready to tell Sam his true motive for all of this. Do you remember the woman who got pranked at the beginning of the movie? She is Mr. Lee's wife. Or better to say, she was. Because she didn't hear the pranksters when they told her that it was just a prank. Instead, she took a gun and she accidentally shot her daughter, thinking that it was a burglar. Then she killed herself because of the guilt. Mr. Lee puts his gun on Sam's head, and tells him that he will suffer as he did, and a gunshot echoes through the night. Sam wakes up with the gun and the knife in his hands. He goes to the backyard, and there he finds Peyton with a hole in her head. The police arrive and they point their guns at Sam, thinking that he's the killer. On TV news, a reporter talks about Sam, and we find out that he's accused of killing everyone. Then, we can see a random prankster uploading his new video, and he gets a friend request from Mr. Lee. The movie ends there. So there you go. There's our recap of the movie. Don't hang up. Feel free to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. We would love to hear your opinion. Now, if you haven't already done so, take a moment right now and subscribe to this channel, like this video, and hit that bell icon to be notified when we've got another motion recap ready for you to enjoy. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.